Super Smash Bros. Ultimate definitely lived up to its title of being Ultimate by having every fighter that's ever been in the series return, in addition to there being even more extra characters and content than anybody could have ever asked for. But since the bar's been raised so high, many people believe that we're currently experiencing the peak of the franchise and that it's all gonna be downhill from this point forward if we ever get another Smash Bros. Game. But if you ask me, I'd absolutely guarantee that Nintendo's not only gonna keep releasing Smash Bros. Games, but I'd even go as far as to say that there's a good chance that those games might actually be better than Ultimate. So sit back in the most illegal chair you own, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the world's most disputed astronaut, CameronAllOneWord, to tell you why. Alright, so right off the bat, the easiest way to prove my claim that Nintendo's gonna release more Smash Bros. Games in the future, regardless of what Sakurai wants, is to simply point out the fact that the above-average-sized Den loves money even more than my neighbor Terry loves hanging out with my wife Chili just as friends. I know that Sakurai seems pretty serious this time when he says that Ultimate's gonna be his last game in the series, but even if that ends up being the case, I kinda don't think that the series really needs him anymore at this point. I mean, don't get me wrong, he is the godfather of the entire franchise, and I mean no disrespect to the fact that he's been working on these games with an IV jammed up his booty hole, but I'm just not sold on the idea that Smash Bros. Can't be done without him, given that the foundation's already been laid out so damn well at this point. And besides, it's not like he's been single-handedly making these games all by himself this entire time or anything like that either, as I'm sure you've probably noticed if you've ever shot all the names in the credits, and I'd bet that out of all these people, a few of them have a pretty good idea of what works and what doesn't in Smash Bros. By now. And with the exception of most of the die-hard Melee fans, everybody seems to be pretty happy with the physics the way they are right now in Ultimate, so as long as Nintendo doesn't feel the need to tamper with them just for the sake of making future games different, they wouldn't need Sakurai to recreate and recalibrate the entire roster one by one going forward, meaning that all a new game would really need are a few extra characters, stages, and random things like trophies to be added on top of what Ultimate's gonna be after all the DLC finally comes out. And you know what, I'm pretty sure a team full of people who worked directly with Sakurai for all these years would be more than capable of adding new content on their own. And if they really got stumped in the development process somehow, then I'm sure the Sackmaster would be willing to answer a few questions over MySpace if need be. I mean, Uncle Saki even said himself on numerous occasions that he doesn't choose the characters anyway, so if you want to start riots over certain characters not being chosen, then we'd still be able to do that if he didn't return to the series. It's just that instead of directing these riots towards Sakurai's Twitter, we'd have to go directly to Nintendo HQ, which I've already done a few times myself, by the way. There's always the possibility that Sakurai'd never be able to make peace with somebody else working on the Smash Bros. Franchise after he dedicated so much of his life towards it, just like how Larry David had a really hard time walking away from Seinfeld. But regardless of whether or not he'd ever be involved in more games going forward, the other big concern with the future of the Smash Bros. Series not being as good is that bringing all these third-party characters back would probably cost way too much money in royalties to justify Nintendo selling the game at the standard retail price, and many people believe that if the sequels are going to be inferior, then why even bother? Well, like I said earlier, Nintendo would definitely bother, because regardless of how against Smash 6 having less content you may be, we all know that you're probably going to buy it if you're a fan of Ultimate, because unless the Switch's successor is backwards compatible, there's always going to be a strong demand for a new Smash Bros. Game on new Nintendo hardware. So even if most of the third-party characters get fired from the base version of Smash 6, there's still more than enough first-party characters that wouldn't need to go anywhere, and plenty more fan favorites that could still be added to the game. Besides, it's not like all the third-party characters that have to get the boot anyway. I'm sure some of them would be able to return even if the retail price for the game is only $60, since the game would definitely make enough money to justify the royalties. And even beyond that, I'd imagine that some of the developers love the promotion of their characters being in Smash Bros. To where it'd probably be relatively cheap for Nintendo to keep them around, or possibly even free. Man, I'll tell you right now, if I owned video game IPs, you could bet your father's ass that I'd be more than happy with Nintendo using my characters for free or cheap, regardless of how popular they already were. And I know that some people would probably see third parties letting their characters into Smash for free as allowing Nintendo to walk all over them, but whatever, dude. Being in Smash Bros. Could only help IPs that are involved with it, and if you don't believe me, then just look at how it saved the entire Fire Emblem franchise from being canned. So honestly, I think you'd have to be stupid to not want your IPs in the game, especially when Nintendo would be the ones doing all the work anyway, so I'm pretty sure most of the third-party fighters would be able to return to future games, if not all of them. But even if all the third parties that are involved in Smash Ultimate insist on getting paid big bucks for their IPs to return in Smash 6, I still think there's solutions that can ensure everybody makes it back into the game, or at the very least, everyone who you want to see come back anyway. And the way for every fan to get their most beloved characters is that rather than Nintendo choosing who makes the cut in the base game, they could just allow fans to choose a set amount of third-party characters to download for free, with the rest of them being included in a premium update or something like that. I know this is a little bit of a long shot, but just hear me out for a second. Smash Ultimate's base game costed $60 and came with 10 third-party characters, so I think we could safely assume that 10 third-party fighters is the bare minimum that Nintendo could have in the base game while still making it financially worthwhile. There were also a bunch of third-party assist trophies, spirits, and other stuff too, but I have even less of an idea how royalties for all that stuff works, and even if I did, I wouldn't feel like counting all that up anyway, so for now, let's just focus on the playable characters since that's all anyone really cares about anyway. Man, it's not like you're ever gonna get a chance to play against anyone with assist trophies turned on without getting shamed anyway. At the time of this recording, Smash Ultimate's got at least 4 extra third-party characters on top of the original 10 that was doable at a $60 retail price. So even if we get 5 more before the game's all said and done, that'd leave at most 9 extra third-party characters that might be too pricey for Nintendo to bring back without the extra $50 it made from the Fighters Passes. Plus, I'm pretty sure that Smash 6 would probably add a few new third-party characters as well, so given that the true version of Smash Ultimate actually costs about $110 if you're not counting the other DLC like Mii costumes, I'd personally understand if some of the characters that Nintendo has to pay for were locked on some kind of premium edition, even if there weren't any changes made to their actual physics. Although, to be honest, it would be nice if some of these characters had some extra stages or something if there's gonna be 2 separate versions of the game, and if the idea of paying $10 or $20 more to get all the fighters and content that's already been developed is outrageous, then you could always just buy the standard version of the game that'd still come with well over 60 returning first-party characters, some returning third-party characters, and probably a few new fighters from first and third-party franchises alike. If you're gonna complain about the base game not having everything the franchise has ever offered, plus more for $60, then I don't know what to tell you, because I'd rather have the option to buy a premium edition that doesn't lose anything at all, rather than only having the option to buy a base version of the game that has to get rid of content. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be ungrateful or entitled in regards to the third-party characters, because I feel like that could only make Nintendo regret ever allowing any of them in the games to begin with. I mean, with Brawl and Smash 4, there were always fans who were upset over certain characters not returning, and I'm sure that these fans would have loved to have had the option to pay a few extra bucks to keep all the content. And I know that example probably isn't the best since the physics were changing in between the games, but you get my point. Like I said, I really hope they just leave all the physics alone from this point forward and only focus on adding new content with each iteration, because like my Uncle Donnie says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And yes, I know that we don't want Smash Bros. To become like all the sports games that get $60 roster updates every year with very little changes made to the actual gameplay, but I'm not saying that we should get a new Smash Bros. Game every year by any means. All I'm saying is that this is how I think Nintendo should release their one Smash Bros. Game in each generation, is all. Because honestly, I just hate to think that with Smash Ultimate being so jam-packed that every game going forward is going to feature less content and therefore be a worse game. I know that some people think Smash Bros. Needs to cut fighters at some point to avoid the roster growing too big, but even if the series eventually reaches 500 characters in like 60 years, I say bring it on, even if that means that every Smash Bros. Game from this point forward is essentially just an upgraded port of Smash. But anyway, what do you think about Smash Bros. 6? Is it destined to be worse than Ultimate? Do you not want the series to have too many characters? Or do you think that Nintendo's gonna find a way to keep this train going, with or without Sakurai? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll try my goddamnedest to respond to everybody at some point. But let me tell you, if there's 2 people who could easily make the best Smash Bros. Game of all time, then it would definitely be today's patrons of the day, Michael D and the Milk Shaman. If you want to be badasses like these 2, then consider supporting FU Game Crew on Patreon for loot boxes and silly rewards in the mail. Send pictures or videos of you rocking merch if you want to make cameos in my videos, and follow me on Twitch if you ever want to hang out whenever I play video games sometimes. My name's CameronAllOneWord, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.